Hey family, thank you all for showing up. I appreciate it. We're gonna get started here pretty soon. Shout out to Black Fist, Community First. Shout out to Noel. Welcome to the broadcast. Darker Visions in the house, and my sister Mupacalypso. We're gonna get started in a minute. I'm just gonna give it a little bit more time and let some more people show up. All right, and I appreciate y'all coming and joining me today. I think y'all gonna like this one. Again, make sure to check out the links in the description field. There's some resources there, absolutely free. There's some links to some books there, which helps support my channel. There's also links to unofficial ADOS merchandise with Black Sheep logos and all of that. There's my man, Proud Mississippian. Shout out to you. Family, make sure you hit that like hater button. Make sure to share so we can get started here. Brother Barshawn in the house. Peace to y'all. We're going to get started here in just a bit. Hey, what's happening, family? It's your man, Mark Black. Happy hump day to all of yous. Welcome, welcome, welcome to this special broadcast. Before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping. Like I said, make sure that you are sharing. Make sure that you hit that hater button or the like button, whichever one suits your fancy, right? I appreciate all of it. And if you are new, welcome to my broadcast. Welcome to the home of the Angry Black Sheep. Please stick around a while, subscribe, and let us chop it up, all right? Again, check out the description field of the video. There's links there to reports and resources with data specifically affecting us ADOS folk. There's also a series of books there, links to Amazon, which of course purchasing those books helps to support my work, support my advocacy. There's also a link there, if you want to offer some financial support. Again, not required, but definitely appreciated. And we're going to go ahead and get started. By the way, I want to shout out Zen. By the way, I want to give a special shout out to Zen Master today, because today's broadcast topic, right? This broadcast is actually related to a comment that Zen placed on one of my videos, specifically the Bullshit Lives and Bullshit Deaths video. And so I want to thank you, Zen, specifically for you giving me the idea, right? Helping me to gel this so that I can speak to the people. I also want to shout out Sister Zipporah. As always, a pleasure, sis. Welcome to the broadcast. Miss Denny's in the house. Straightforward. Shout out to you. Welcome to the broadcast. All right, family. So the title of today's broadcast is Two-Face or True Face. Now, again, I told you that this was related to a comment that Zen wrote under this video. So I'm going to read the comment out to you, right? So that you can get a sense of where we're going to go with this, right? Zen wrote, and I quote, "They know we aren't going to jail like that. It's about white prison reform, but they use the face of ADOS to seal the agenda. The same as the ADOS shell is used as the representative of voter suppression, but it's all about illegal immigrants gaining voting rights. ADOS are used as the face when talking about discrimination, but it's really about getting gays and Latinos more rights. We are the straw men and women of America." Edit. "Even reparations is becoming about gains for all, or should I say the lower working class poor," unquote. Zen, thank you for such an insightful post. And it brings up a point that I think needs to be made. And it also gives us an avenue of a resolution to this issue. Shout out to Brother Martin, by the way. Welcome to the broadcast. What Zen was saying is so true that it hurts. As a matter of fact, when I replied to Zen, I actually told Zen that those were cold, hard facts that Zen was speaking in that comment, because it ties to something that I don't think that we talk enough about. ADOS folk in America are people of two faces, okay? And I'm going to lay out what those two faces are. The first face that we as ADOS people show to the world is the face of failure. Whenever you look at any criteria, right, whether it's crime, whether it's poverty, whether it's lack of education, whether it's broken homes, whether it's lack of economic mobility, whatever metric you want to use, ADOS people are always put in the forefront as the face of that failure, the face of that diminishment, right? It doesn't matter where. So I'll prove this to you really simply, right? Because remember, it's about the data. Whenever you say the word criminal, you don't have to tell me. I know what face pops into your head, because study after study after study after study shows that when you say criminal, even black people have a face of a black person in their head. right? When you say welfare queen, I can guarantee you're not thinking of Apple. You're not thinking of Microsoft. You're not thinking of Lockheed Martin, although they get vastly more welfare than any of us do. No. The picture you see is of an ADOS woman, right? We are and have always been, in the confines of the United States, the face of failure. No matter the topic, no matter the subject, if you're talking about people starving, right? They don't want to talk about starving ass, broke ass white folks in Europe. No, they show pictures of black folk in Africa, or they show pictures of, damn nearly homeless ADOS children in hovels, public housing hovels surrounded by rats and roaches. They don't show starving ass, broke ass, three-tooth having cousin fucking Appalachians, right? White folks in Kentucky. They show you or someone who looks like you. But we all know that already. We all know that we are the face of failure when it comes to how people's narratives are told in America. But Zen brought up something that we don't talk about, that we don't realize. The second face that ADOS people represent to America. Whenever there is a need for change, right? Whenever there is a need for reform, whenever the outrage at the systems as they constitute culture and life in America needs to change, we are the story that other ethnic groups tell to justify the changes, not to benefit us, but to benefit them. Right? We are the face of change and reform, not for ourselves, right? No one's looking to change these things for us. They are looking to change things for them using our narrative. Again, let me provide you with a case in point. I was talking to some brothers. Shout out to Real Spill. Shout out to Brother Cease, double C ADOS. And shout out to Super Black. We had a great conversation yesterday on Discord. If you have not joined my Discord, link is in the description field. It's an easy thing to do. You can use the application from your phone, or you can do it from your desktop or your tablet. We always are having conversations in there. When I'm not on here talking, I'm usually in there saying what's up to folk, right? So make sure you join that. But we had a conversation yesterday. And we were talking about, because we all roughly around the same age. We all Gen Xers, okay? So between 38 and 53, right? Roughly, okay? I'm 46. A couple of the brothers just turned 40. One's, in his late 30s and so on and so forth. Now, as Generation Xers, all of you Xers out there know what happened to us between 1983 and roughly 1995. We are still seeing the effects of this incident that occurred amongst our people today. And that was the crack epidemic, the crack era, right? In 1983, I was 10 years old, still living in the projects, right? Shout out to Riverview. And I noticed that something was starting to happen that I had never seen before, right? Even though we were poor, and even though we had gangs and stuff in our neighborhood, if you were a child, the neighborhood was relatively safe. In the summertime, my mother would allow us to be outside playing 2, 3, 4 in the morning. Why? Because it gets hot in Kansas City. And she didn't want us out there burning up in the daytime heat. So she kept us in the house during the day, and when the sun would go down and it start to cool off outside, she would let us go outside and play during the summer. You feel me? Right? So, by the way, shout out to the elder BGS. Welcome to the broadcast, brother. I am so honored to have you here. So, in 83, this element of safety was starting to be eroded. I watched some of the older brothers, the older kids that was out there, you know, the gang members and, you know, the guys that like to scrap and so on and so forth, go from throwing fisticuffs and maybe pulling a knife if the fight really got cracking, to carrying around automatic weapons, shotguns, military-style weapons. It got so bad that we could not even go out after certain times of the day or night because gunfire was happening like we were living in Beirut or some shit. And we watched our aunts, our uncles, our mothers, our fathers, our grandfathers and grandmothers, our cousins start smoking this shit, stealing everything that wasn't nailed down, trading their children for sexual favors and service to the dope man. Some babies were born addicted to this shit. Our neighborhoods, thanks to the CIA and Ronald Reagan and Oliver North, followed up by George Herbert Walker Bush, the archdevil himself, flooded our fucking communities with a poison, the effects of which we are still seeing today. Today. I watched body after body being placed in the ground. Dudes I went to school with in high school didn't even graduate from high school. They were dead. Either that or they were catching life sentences, multiple life bids, and so on and so forth. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. This shit decimated many of our communities. So how did America respond to the decimation of our community? I'll tell you how they responded. Joe Biden, under the advisement of William Jefferson Clinton and Al Gore, co-sponsored the Omnibus Crime Bill of 1996 and instituted 3 strikes. Because many of us out there, you know what I'm saying, after the decimation of our community, was out there playing prison games, slinging crack. And they hit us with fucking mass incarceration, locking us up for multiple life sentences. Brothers that will never see freedom again. Sisters that will never see freedom again. People who should have been treated for addiction were locked in prison. But guess what? Anybody who knows anything about prison knows that any drug that you get out here on the streets, you can get just as easy in prison, except it costs you more. In prison, it may cost you sexual favors. It may cost you having to go rob and steal and kill other prisoners, thus increasing the amount of time you spend in prison. But you can get any drug in prison that you can get on the motherfucking streets. So here, your people can't get out, but the drugs can get in. Ain't that a bitch? So this is what happened to our community. We were decimated. It was like a scythe just reaped damn nearly an entire generation of black folk. Zen said they made sociopaths out of our youth. How many us Gen Xers right now are sitting here with undiagnosed PTSD from the shit that we saw when we was teenagers, when we was kids even? And I'm not even talking about the shit we did to ourselves under the influence of drugs. Let's talk about the motherfucking no-knock raids where they would bust into our homes at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, loaded for bear, blowing up flashbang grenades and tear gas. SWAT teams in fucking armored vehicles with snipers posted on roofs and shit. Like they was attacking a fortress. How many of us lived through that? They called us super predators. Hillary Clinton said a generation of children who are known as super predators, who cannot be controlled. They only have to be brought to heel like we was dogs. But fast forward a few years. Fast forward to the advent of these really powerful pain medications like fentanyl, like OxyContin, and so on and so forth. And remember, because we black folk, you could get a bullet wound, and the best you might hope for is ibuprofen. So they're not giving you the good pain medication that can help you to heal, that can give you relief from your pain and struggling. God forbid if you ADOS with a motherfucking chronic illness that causes you chronic pain, short of you blowing your motherfucking brains out, you ain't got a hope in hell of any relief. But these white folks, though, they was able to go to the motherfucking doctors with splinters and toothaches and get OxyContin. And the shit was dope. No pun intended. It was dope. They loved that shit so much, they kept going back for more. Brother Billy Joe Bob broke his leg in a motherfucking tractor incident. So he get to go to the doctor. They load his ass up with enough motherfucking OxyContin to kill a mule. So now they're taking this shit like it's candy. And just like everything else for these white motherfuckers, everything is all good while the candy flows. Everything is all good when nobody's talking about drug-seeking behavior, when nobody's talking about big pharma, when everything was flowing fast and furious and all you had to do was knock on the motherfucking doctor's door to get you some OxyContin. If you was white folk, it was all gravy. Till they started seeing people out there drug the fuck out. Entire towns with people addicted to this shit. People ODing like dropping like flies. Ohio is the home of the motherfucking opioid epidemic. They're having people die from overdoses in Ohio every single motherfucking day. It became so clear, so obvious that these people were strung out on this shit that they tried to turn off the spigot. Because, you know, once they do it, they don't want to try to fix the problem. They want to try to stop it and act like the problem doesn't happen. Well, guess what? You shut off access to OxyContin. You shut off access to fentanyl and all these other powerful painkillers. Well, now, guess what? People need to take these painkillers just to feel fucking normal. So who's got it? Who's there? Who's there ready to supply it? The dope man with heroin. Which, by the way, wasn't it interesting that we go to Afghanistan, the home of heroin and poppy production, and yet heroin flows like water anywhere you go in the United States. You can get heroin. You can literally pick a door in your neighborhood and go knock on it and probably cop some heroin within 20 minutes. Anywhere you go. Isn't that interesting? So now, they're not only strung out on these legal pharmaceuticals, but now they junkies. So what do? Oh, they started locking all these white motherfuckers up for multiple life. No, actually, no, they didn't. No, they didn't. What they started doing was talking about harm reduction. You know, safe use sites with clean paraphernalia, right? They started talking about, giving people clean, sterile rails so they could shoot up. Methadone, Suboxone, Narcan, handed out like fucking candy. And all of those politicians who have been pushing these motherfucking efforts to help white folks, all of them now are singing a different song. We now know that the 3-strike era was just not right. We now know that we were locking people up for nonviolent offenses for too long of sentences. We now understand that what we did to ADOS people isn't proper. So now we've got to change it because the system is broken. Right, Star Man? Shout out to you, by the way. Welcome to the broadcast, Brother Charles. And that, right? They found all sorts of motherfucking empathy and understanding, but whose face did they use to sell it? Yours and mine. They talked about the crimes they committed against us during the motherfucking manufactured crack epidemic in our neighborhoods. And now they asking us to spend billions of our tax dollars to cover treatment for their ass. But my uncle couldn't get treatment. My stepfather couldn't get treatment. My auntie couldn't get treatment. No, what the fuck they got was either cases or they had to go cold turkey and try to kick that shit. There wasn't no harm reduction, no safe places where people could go smoke and still have a job and still pay their bills. There wasn't no transitional living centers and so on and so forth. It was lock those niggas up. Shout out to my brother Black Dollars. Peace to you, brother. It's good to see you. But now that they recognize that what they done to us yesterday has the potential to be done to them today, now the narrative that they're using is what they've done to us that was dirty. They talk about we were wrong. Bill Clinton gets up there and says, I realize now that pursuing such a harsh, criminal justice strategy was just improper. Out there apologizing to Black Lives Matter protesters and shit. My favorite aunt was a motherfucking crackhead. My uncle, her husband, was a crackhead. My stepfather is a crackhead. My mother smoked the shit. My sister's a recovering crack addict. That shit decimated our motherfucking communities. But now the story that you're telling, the narrative that they're using your face to sell isn't one of failure. They're using your face to sell reform, but not to benefit you. No, we have already gone through the crucible. Whatever damage was going to be done has already been done to us. We've had damn nearly an entire generation of brothers who were not here able to father children. We've had sisters who, if they had children, just didn't even have enough wherewithal to be able to take care of them. We've had children that, due to addiction, had impulse control issues. And so now they're trapped firmly and fully in the school to prison pipeline. Whatever damage was done, we have already eaten the failure for, as per usual. And as per usual now that they've woke up and seen the light of the injustices that they've committed against us, now they want to talk about reform. But not to benefit you, not to benefit me. but to benefit everybody motherfucking else. Now they want to benefit everyone else. And so now you're not the face of failure anymore, ADOS man and woman. You're the face of reform. You're not going to be the beneficiary of reform, but you're the face of reform. Throughout our history in this country, we have been defrauded, ran off of our land, lynched, brutalized, raped, murdered. And nobody gave a fuck. You do understand this. It was an event, a party for most Americans. Most Americans. I know it real. I know it. So much trauma. But now they want to talk about reform. Now that they've brutalized and tried to wring you out dry, now they want to talk about reform so that Jamie don't have to go to jail. So that Melissa can have a safe place to shoot up her motherfucking junk. We have been brutalized every fucking where we've gone in this country. They talk about the Great Migration. Shout out to producer, by the way, and brother Christopher. Welcome to the broadcast. They talk about the Great Migration as if we just all up and decided to leave the South. Like it was a good place to be, but we just had better things to do and other places to go. No, we were ran the fuck up out of the South. We had the Night Riders, the motherfucking Knights of the White Camellia, the KKK, who had the greatest growth in the 1920s and the 1930s, who could snatch any black person the fuck up on a whim, on a humbug, and end our lives. God forbid you should have more property than your white neighbors might have. They gonna get your shit. You either are gonna sell it to them at whatever price they tell you they're gonna pay for it, or you're gonna get lynched and they're gonna come in and take it later. Right? And don't forget that during this time period, they still had convict leasing going on through much of the South. Brother Dave, my little nephew Dave is in the house. Welcome, brother, to the broadcast. This was and is that real ADOS life. And they knew, the government knew that the people in the South were terrorizing us. They knew that restrictive covenants and shit like that was preventing us from moving into safe and clean neighborhoods with decent schools, an adequate tax base, and so on and so forth. They knew redlining was preventing us from, even if we had the capital, even if we were able to somehow scratch, scrape, and survive and gather up enough, that we weren't going to be able to live anywhere that wasn't rat infested, roach infested, even in the North. Even in the North. They knew it. And it was all good. It was legal. The FHA, Fannie Mae, Fannie Mac, VA, right? Denying us the opportunity to borrow to live where the fuck we want, as opposed to where they demand that we live. You know, the creation of the ghetto. Making us a contagion for wealth. Right? When the New Deal was instituted by Roosevelt, Social Security was revolutionary, although they had something similar to it in Prussia under Bismarck. But when Social Security was instituted, there were two groups of people that were excluded from access to Social Security. That was agricultural workers and domestics Who is it that you think that made up the primary numbers of agricultural workers and domestics in the 1930s in America? Let me give you a hint. It wasn't no motherfuckers that spoke Spanish, let me tell you that. It was you. And it was your ancestors. I got ancestors alive right now that pick cotton. While we talking about picking cotton during slavery, fuck no. I got relatives that's still alive right now that picked cotton when they was kids. But that was so long ago, you know. Shout out to Dr. Lily, by the way. Welcome to the broadcast, sister. So we see all of the evidence of brutality, lynching, and so on and so forth. Fast forward a few years, and then in the 70s, you have what the LGBTQIA plus community calls the Stonewall riots, right? You probably are familiar with like Harvey Milk and so on and so forth, that whole thing, right? They said, hey, we got the right to live how we want to live. And y'all out here brutalizing us and so on and so forth. Ask yourself a question. Those lesbian, gay, transgender, bisexual people, whose movements for change, whose faces did they use when they sought reform, when they sought to get their rights, when they sought to get benefits as full-on citizens? Whose face did they use? The feminists. Whose face did Gloria Steinem use? Did Jane Fonda use? Who did they have out there marching for them and co-signing they shit? When they talked about the need for change, for reform, the narrative stopped talking about our failure and used us as an object lesson to explain the need for reform, but not to benefit you or I, but to benefit the LGBTQIA community, to benefit the feminist community, and so on and so forth. You and I, my dear beloved family, are a people of two faces. We are the face of failure, the eternal scapegoat. But when shit needs to change, it is our story, our narrative, our faces that they use to justify the need for reform, but never for our benefit, only for others. Zen told a truth so powerful in that comment under my video, I don't even think that Zen even realized. It was fucking inspired. We are a people of two faces. Both of those faces hurt us. Facts, Christopher. Tell them. Dr. Lely said they're always trying to make ADOS their mules because their evil asses have no moral authority. Where's the mic? I wish I could drop that motherfucker. Because y'all know what it is, family. You know what it is. You as an ADOS person will either be the face of failure or you will be the story told to make someone else's life better. And if you think that shit has come to an end, you would be sadly mistaken. The darling of the motherfucking left, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, talks about reparations, did you know? And says that reparations should be extended to Latinos. Because she just has to emphasize the shit out of that. That reparations should be extended to Latino peoples. Yeah, Miss Green New Deal herself is trying to steal your fucking birthright. So much for that black-brown coalition motherfuckers be talking about, yeah. So much for all of that. Black Dollar said that's all they see. They can't take that. Black empowerment is ours. They can't take that away from us. We will break these bastards to our will. Black Dollars, I'm getting to it. I'm going to get to it. Elder BGS with the tragic Negro. You know it. It's funny. They all understand justice. They all understand the need for remediation, restoration, and repair when it comes to every other group. No one's asking, well, what do you mean by reparations? Nobody asked the Jews that. Nobody asked the Japanese that. Nobody's asking these Italians that down there in was it in Florida? There was a lynching of 11 Italians. They said it was the greatest documented lynching in history. Bullshit. They had mass lynchings of us, where we try to organize in unions to protect ourselves from being fleeced as fucking sharecroppers. So they came in and lynched tens, dozens, hundreds of us at a time. But these 11 Italian motherfuckers are going to get reparations. Florida, the state of Florida is talking about compensation right now to the families of those 11 Italians that was lynched. We had 100 black soldiers defend all of Black Houston against a racial onslaught of white folks who were looking to come and decimate Houston like they did us in Tulsa and Greenwood in 1921. All 100 of those men were court-martialed, and the overwhelming majority of them were hanged. Where's the talk from the Department of the Army of compensation, of reparations to those brothers and their families for the lives that they had stolen from them for standing up and defending the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic? You goddamn right I'm serious, Code. You goddamn right I'm serious. They handing out benefits, help, aid, remuneration, love, whatever the fuck you want to call it. They handing it out to everybody in this country. It don't matter what group you claim to be a part of. If you a farmer, you get paid not to even grow crops under the CRP. The crop rotation program. They actually pay you not to grow shit. And black folk would be getting some of that money if we wasn't defrauded and ran up off our land. If we were allowed to actually own agricultural property. Every fucking body is getting something for the mistreatment. And what's crazy is that they use what's happening to us to justify paying everybody else. I'll give you an example. This motherfucker Beto O'Rourke, you know, that sorry little rich boy bastard who lost to Ted Cruz of all people. How the fuck do you run for office and lose against a motherfucking Latino zombie? Like, that's your motherfucker. How? Explain this to me. But I digress. At any rate, Beto O'Rourke is now running for the office of the President of the United States. So, at one of his rallies, one of us said, Beto, I'm a descendant of American slavery. Right? I'm a descendant of those who were enslaved here in America. Why should I vote for you if you are, what's your program? Like, in other words, what are you planning to do specifically for people like me? You know, politics, right? Because everybody's asking politicians to do something for them. This motherfucker Beto O'Rourke spends 5 minutes on a goddamn history lesson of all of the injustices that black people faced. And at the end of it, went on to some old universal program bullshit. So he sat there on national motherfucking TV. Find the video for yourself, family. I can't make this up. On national TV, and gave a history lesson of the injustices that we have faced in this country, of the fuckery that we've experienced at the hands of this government and all of the citizens in this country. Laid it all out, a full litany of it, to only then offer some universal ass program that's just going to bake in the racial wealth gap that already exists for ADOS people and everybody else. Kamala's no different, or Kamala. Corey's no different. Bernie doesn't even pretend to give a fuck about reparations for black people. Marianne Williamson is talking about it, but her numbers are too goddamn low. And even after having had a sit down with Yvette and Tone and an opportunity to talk to Dr. Darity about his work, she's still offering some old fuck shit. And even in spite of all of that, you ADOS people, you and I, ADOS people, have changed the entire fucking narrative. Reparations would not have been something that the Dems would touch with a 10-foot pole, but we lit a fire up under their ass. We lit a fire up under their ass. We brought it to them in a way they couldn't fucking deny. We gave them a taste of what happens when ADOS people say, oh, so you want to support everybody but us? Well, guess what? We falling back. We gave them a taste in 2016. 2016 had some of the lowest turnout.
Keep preaching.
Thank you, elder brother. I appreciate the tip, man, and the donation. Thank you so much. We showed them. Oh, for sure, Zen, they all do the history lesson. Like I said, two faces. You're either the face of failure or you're the story they tell to justify reform. But never for you. Never for you. Family, the title of this broadcast, though, was Two-Face versus True-Face. Or True Face. I've told you about the two faces that you wear as a citizen of the United States. Scarlett, I can't ride. Go on her website. Go on her website and see what she's talking about as far as the numbers go, and then get back at us. And besides, we don't need to support her and get her on the debate stage. Reparations, for better or for worse for the Democrats, is already a topic on the motherfucking table. It is already a topic for discussion. Everywhere these Democratic candidates go, these bastards are hit with somebody who looks like me saying, what the hell do you plan to do specifically for ADOS people? What is your specific tangible offerings that you have specifically for the American descendants of slavery? We've already introduced the topic. We don't need Marianne Williamson to do that. Now, if she's going to start talking sense around the actual numbers of what reparations look like, rather than fucking nickel and diming us to goddamn death, she might have a shot. But she's talking about between 200 and 500 billion. The fuck out of here. In 1865, when our ancestors was emancipated, the value of their flesh, because remember, they were chattel, they were property, the value of their flesh alone was $100 billion. This bitch is out of her mind and she thinks that $500 billion is enough. That don't even cover the cost of our people, the cost of their bodies, the money they made off of selling and slanging black people. I'm good. If she can start talking about some real fucking numbers, guess what? We can talk about it. But we don't need her to introduce the topic because, family, we got to get away from this goddamn white savior complex bullshit. You and I are already introducing the topic. Everywhere these bastards go, we're in their faces. How many of you seen that video? How many of you seen that video of that brother who confronted James Clyburn's ass? James Clyburn trying to pull that old slick shit. Hey, let me holler at you, young blood. Nah, get the fuck out of here, James. What are you and the motherfucking congressional black caucuses planning to do specifically for black people? They can't go anywhere at this point without facing one of us. We don't need her to introduce a damn thing. We introduced it, and we're the ones who's continuing to fight for it. I didn't make it to where Mary Ann Williamson was a long shot. You got to blame this two-party system for that. I think that if we had a real democratic system where you could have coalition governments made up of multiple parties, she might have a shot at some shit. Or at least getting into office in some capacity. I don't actually have any hate towards the woman. But to pretend that the shit she's talking is in any way a fix for our people, sorry. She got to bump up the goddamn numbers. You know what, Scarlett? Let me tell you something. I talk to white people every day. I talk to Republicans. I talk to all sorts of motherfuckers. I know it's a business thing. You don't have to explain that to me, right? This is a business transaction. It ain't personal, right? But we don't need her to connect with white folks. I just watched a video the other day of this white man who fucks with, like, the House of Consciousness and Sonetta and all them and shit. This motherfucker's doing videos about reparations that are getting views up in the tens of thousands. Much more views than I'm getting. There's white folks out there that are already on the train. We don't need Mary Ann Williamson to become the most powerful motherfucker in the United States in order to get this shit done. She doesn't have a shot at it anyway. I didn't make it that way. That's this system. That's this first past the gate, two-party ass system. Family, our true face was expressed very clearly by our sister Yvette Carnell on her last broadcast. She said, going forward, the only thing that I care about on anybody's political agenda, first and foremost, is what are you going to be doing for the American descendants of slavery? That's it. You don't have anything specifically you are doing for us. It does not matter what else you stand for. I'm not buying. GMAC is right. We just need focus. Your true face is your focus face, your game face, right? Not the face of failure no more. Not the face that these motherfuckers get to use when they want to talk about reform that benefits everybody except you. No, your true face is a focus face. That true face of ours is simply this. You and I share the same lineage, the same heritage. Shout out to my beloved sister Shar, by the way. Welcome to the broadcast, sister. You and I share the same heritage, the same lineage. Cleave together. And let's do this, right? Let's do this. That's our focus. And remember this. It does not matter what office they're running for. I don't give a fuck if they're running for dog catcher. If they don't have something specifically on the table that they are planning to do tangibly to benefit the American descendants of slavery, they do not get our vote. John asks, so who should ADOS support in 2020? Trump? As it seems, no Democratic challenger is capable of passing the reparations litmus test. I mean, what's the end game? Great question, John. Now, if you're asking me my opinion, I say you should support yourself. Support you and I. We got work to do, right? Voting is only part of our strategy. If there is no one out there to vote for, then withhold your vote. It is a business transaction. That's it. Your vote. I expressed this in a video on my channel a while back. Please go back and look at my old stuff. Your vote is your bullet. Think of your vote as your gun, your bullet. If they were to have a war over a particular topic, your vote says that you're going to be on one side or the other one. And the people that demand your vote are basically the generals. And what they're saying in every election or every vote is that I've got the numbers on my side, that if we turn this into some gangster shit, my people gonna whoop your ass. So we might as well deal with this peaceably and accept that we in charge of this shit. This what we want is what we want. That's what voting really is. Voting is war by another means. Politics is war by another means. That's it. Right? Now, if you have been willingly volunteering to fight for a force for 60 years who has consistently put you on the front line of every conflict, yet cannot support you with MREs, can't support you with gear, can't support you with adequate weaponry, won't give you a tent to sleep in, just keep you in the barest minimum to keep body and soul together, to keep fighting. At some point, you're going to have to ask yourself whether it is sensible to continue to offer your services fighting on behalf of them. It's as simple as that. This is business. It ain't personal. I actually like the idea of green energy and shit like that. Right? I don't have no personal motherfucking problems with universal health care and free college education for folk and so on and so forth. All of that sound good as fuck to me. The only thing they'd have to do to ensure that I would go out there and walk the shoe leather off my shoes in support of them is add reparations plus all that shit. I don't want that shit in lieu of what is due me and my people. I want my reparations. I want to be remediated, restored, and made whole completely. Put me as a citizen and my people as citizens where the fuck we belong. And then if you want to put in Green New Deals, if you want to put in universal health care, or you want to put in universal basic incomes and all that other shit, I am down like 4 flats on a dump truck. But my due comes first. You and I, our real face, our true face is an ADOS focused face to all the rest of the world. When they put in mics in front of your face, it should not be talking about, well, you know, I stand with Standing Rock, Je suis Paris, and all that other shit. I don't give a fuck what country burns. I don't give a damn about the red-eyed, blue-breasted swamp booby that's going extinct. I don't give a fuck about the Pacific gyre with the goddamn plastic floating in the ocean. I don't give a fuck about the rise in CO2 levels or any of that shit. If they are not talking about remediation, restoration, and repair to the American descendants of slavery, then we've got nothing to talk about. I'm on my Joker shit. I'm going to sit back and watch this motherfucker burn. Vote tangibles. John Clark said, vote tangibles. No disrespect meant, but what does that mean exactly? Should we not hold Trump to the same standards? Yup. As a matter of fact, unlike what you might be hearing or whatever the case may be, I talks to everybody, Republicans, Democrats, Greens. I don't give a fuck who you are politically. If you can get, look, if a motherfucking group of white separatists is talking about we'll back a candidate for office that'll get in and vote for y'all to have y'all's own shit just so y'all can keep y'all's nigger ass away from us. We got an interest that aligns. I can talk with them motherfuckers. I ain't against talking with nobody, but the only thing I'm talking about is us. That's all I want to hear. That is all I want to hear. All of the other shit sounds real nice. It sounds real nice, right? Free healthcare. I likes it. Basic, universal basic income. Smart ass idea, especially with the advent of automation and AI. You're going to have a lot of motherfuckers out without jobs that got guns and nothing else to do. You better come up with something. So smart ass idea. Where the fuck is my remediation? Where is my people's restoration? Return to us our birthright as citizens, and we will back the play of whatever America wants to do. Whatever else it wants to do. It's all good. We have served in the front line of every democratic war in this motherfucker for the last 60 years. We stood with the motherfuckers at Stonewall. We stood for don't ask, don't tell. We stood, look, some of our people even supported the whole 3 strikes and all that shit, thinking that they was trying to help their kids, right? We supported every motherfucking thing right down the goddamn line that these bastards have wanted us to support. We were standing with them at Standing Rock against the pipelines. You know what I'm saying? We fought for every goddamn cause that the Democrats could possibly come up with for 60 years, unfailingly. Whenever the polls open, niggas is the first ones to show up and the last ones to leave. But they can't do shit for us. They can't break open the motherfucking piggy bank and break bread with the most loyal motherfuckers. Then fuck them. And the same for the Republicans too. I hold all politicians to the same standard. What are you planning to do that tangibly remediates, restores, and benefits the American descendants of slaves? Only question I have for them. That's not to say I'm not interested in other shit. I definitely, like I said, I like a whole host of ideas. But if you can't hit me off with my main idea, if you can't touch my main purpose for being politically active, then don't fucking get mad at me. Don't get mad at me when my people don't show up to vote for you. I want you to vote for yourselves. And how do you do that? By becoming a single issue voter. That's it. That's it. Your single issue, the one thing that defines you, is your lineage. Vote for the restoration, the remediation, and the repair of your lineage. That's who you should vote for. And if there is no candidate from any party that is not in full-throated, unabashed, unapologetic support for you and your lineage, then my gun can stay in my pocket. My gun can stay in my pocket. Vote down ballot. if you feel comfortable, like if you feel like you absolutely have to vote for the Greens or some other party that you don't have to hold your motherfucking nose to vote for. No more of this lesser of two evils shit. They always want black people to vote against something, right? We can't go and vote for something ever. You ever notice that? We supported DACA, right? We supported, you know what I'm saying, marriage equality for LGBTQ people, right? We supported all that shit. Now, we standing up and saying, it's time y'all go on here to hit us off, right? This debt is due. And we got to play fucking word salad and take history lessons from punk-ass white folks who don't know enough. We got to do dances with a motherfucking half Jamaican, half Indian bitch who will come out and tell us to our face. There's no way I'm going to sit there and say I'm going to do something specifically for black people. Yet if you go on her Twitter, she's constantly got shit she doing for LGBT, for DACA, for everybody else. She put a fucking flag right outside her office there in the Senate in support of motherfucking trans rights. She'll come out and say specifically what she's willing to do and what she's willing to sign for transgender folk. But when it comes to you, no, there's no way you're going to get me to just come out and say I'm just going to do something specifically for black people. Please. I'm asking you to vote for yourself. That's a fact. Vote for yourself. Your true face needs to be that face that when people start trying to use your people as the narrative for reform to benefit their people, you're the first people to jump up and with the loudest, most powerful shout that you can summon up from your motherfucking chest, you say, fuck nah. Lock them motherfuckers up like you locked us up. Don't use my story, my narrative to support helping and healing them. Them motherfuckers look good being deported for me. I don't want them here. Don't use my fucking narrative, my history, my story as a rallying cry to benefit everybody motherfucking else. You should be the first one to stand up and talk about the hijacking of your narrative to support benefiting everybody else except you. We go hard for these motherfucking bots on television, these blacks on television. Shut that bitch Joy Reid down. We still got black folk that think Roland Martin is a newsworthy source of information. The fuck out of here. He's not relevant. So do you want to be two-faced? Or do you want to show this country your true face? Show them your war face, your angry black sheep face. Hit they ass Republican, Democrat, Green, Socialist. I don't give a fuck who they are. You hit everybody with the same goddamn question. Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. I like that idea about universal basic income there, Mr. Yang. But what specifically is going to be your plan to benefit the American descendants of slaves? Specifically. Oh, you don't have one? Yeah, about my support, I don't see that happening. You feel me? Trump's already in there. And trust me, the Democrats...
Great broadcast, bro.
Thank you, Unreasonable, man. I appreciate the love and support. The Democrats basically handed Trump a second term. You do understand that, right? With this whole Russiagate, Mueller bullshit, they don't have to blame us when Trump gets in 2020. They gave it to him. talking about that this man was colluding with the Russians and all this shit. And what did Mueller's report find? Well, it found that Trump is crooked. We knew that. It found that, he surrounded himself with a lot of crooks, liars, and thieves, politicians. We knew that, right? But no evidence of collusion with any foreign government whatsoever. Meanwhile, you had this bitch, Rachel Maddow, and what's that other motherfucker, Oberman, Keith Oberman, and all the rest of them talking about, hey, we need to impeach Trump. Y'all done man, Democrats fucked up. They handed Trump 2020. They don't get to put that one on us. Even if your black ass don't even show up at the ballot box, Trump is in here. And Trump was able to find what? Upwards of now $3 billion for construction of the wall? Shit. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. The only thing that would have possibly stopped Trump from getting elected in 2020 by his base was if he made no progress on the wall. He got the DOD to give him 1.5 last week. 1.5 billion of the 7 billion needed to build this motherfucker. They found another 1.5 or 1.7 and some change somewhere else. So now he's sitting upwards of $3 billion to get the wall started, and they found no evidence of collusion. It's a wrap. The Democrats is running off at they dick suckers at this point. They can have all the motherfucking primaries and debates they want. Trump is going to be, I'm saying it here first. Trump is going to be reelected in 2020, and it's nobody's fault but the motherfucking Democrats. Nobody's fault but them. But them. Nobody's fucking fault but them. Don't let them try to pull that bullshit they did in 2016 where they tried to blame first black men for electing Trump. Then they tried to blame black women for electing Trump, even though white women voted for Trump in droves. After they was like, he's a pussy grabber, but you went and voted for, you know what I'm saying? You pulled the lever for the pussy grabber in chief. They tried to blame us for that shit back in 2016. In 2020, no. Hell, even if they decide to finally get some act right and offer us some real tangible benefits towards our remediation, restoration, and rehabilitation, even with our vote, they still may not have a fucking shot in 2020. Now that they'd have shot themselves in the foot with this Russiagate Mueller bullshit. So when these motherfucking Democrats try to come to you in 2019 and 2020, leading up to the election, and they sitting here trying to talk about, if Trump gets reelected, I bet you let me tell you something. For those of you who ain't following the brother, I fucks with Isaiah Washington on Twitter, right? You know brother Isaiah used to play on Grey's Anatomy. He was in Romeo Must Die, dark skin, real good looking brother, can act his ass off. Isaiah Washington. Right? That's my man. I love Isaiah Washington. Isaiah Washington was just in D.C. yesterday talking to Trump about the next step from the First Step Act. So Trump's already signed off on the First Step Act. Isaiah's in his face right now saying, what's the next step? We getting ready to do the next step. You down with the next step where we get job training and rehabilitation for federal prisoners and so on and so forth. Slowly but surely, we got people that are going into Trump's face. Isaiah is not talking about ADOS. He's being about it. Now, Scarlett, again, I don't have no personal animus toward Marianne Williamson. What I'm saying is she had better damn well get her shit together fast. Because the debates approach. I actually have already donated to her. So you should know I don't have no personal animus toward her. But them numbers that she's talking is way too motherfucking low. Way too low. And if she can't get her shit together, if she can't actually have a real proper sit down and start talking some real numbers on some real shit, I'm cool. Isaiah Washington is definitely, first of all, Isaiah Washington is ADOS. So he's doing nothing but supporting his lineage. I got mad respect for the brother. Now, politically speaking, he may be on the right, quote unquote, because isn't it funny? They want to tell y'all, oh, you know, we can't, this is about the Democrats. We try to make this about them. Man, fuck the Democrats. Fuck the Democrats. I'm not trying to reform them. The Democrats and the Republicans are two wings of the same racist ass bird that have been doing the same fuck shit to us from 1619 to 2019. The only thing I want to hear from them is where do our interests align? If they are not trying to align with my interests, if they're not looking for remediation, restoration, and repair of ADOS folk, there ain't nothing else to talk about. There is nothing else to talk about. I don't give a fuck about your motherfucking UBI programs. I don't give a fuck about your reduced or free tuition to college. I don't give a fuck about whatever else you talking about. I don't give a fuck about no new trade deals. I don't give a fuck about nothing. You could be launching a rocket to Mars offering people free real estate on that motherfucker. And if you're not talking about doing something specifically for the American descendants of slavery toward our remediation, our rehabilitation, and our repair, no se habla. Yo no comprendo. I don't understand you. My ears don't work properly because I'm not hearing reparations of what you're talking about. I'm not hearing about that check you need to be cutting to pay that debt you owe. Your true face, family, is a face of power. It is a face of taking back your narrative and ensuring that when reform, when change, when real substantive shit happens, it either happens for you and for me and for your brothers and your sisters, or it don't happen for nobody. That's your true face. Do I need to say any more on this topic? Do I need to say anything else? Do you want to continue to be two-faced? Or do you want to show this motherfucker your true face? Your war face. The face where your ancestors shines out through it and you speak with their words. What you gonna do for my people specifically? What's on the game plan? What's on the agenda for remediation, for repair, for restoration, for the denial of our birthright as citizens in this country? What you doing? Because if they not talking about that, we're not having a conversation. Right? I hear you, Brother Real. Brother Black Dollars. I hear you. I got to be there. I got to be there. Family, I'm not going to keep you too much longer. I want to give a shout out to the esteemed brother, my elder brother, BGS. Thank you so much for the donation, for the tip. I want to shout out Unreasonable Man. I want to thank you so much for your support. I definitely appreciate the love, family. If you ever decide that, you want to throw a few spare coins your brother's way, there are definitely links in the description field for you to do that. I hope that something I said today edifies. I hope that something I said today educated. I hope that something I said today gives you a new impetus to understand that it is your true face that you need to show this country, the face that we all have been waiting to see, that face that marches to the beat of a single drum. And that drum is, are you doing something specifically and tangibly for the American descendants of slaves? If they are not, then they do not deserve your vote. Simple as that. And it doesn't matter if it's D or R or green or whoever the fuck. If you got enough courage, if you one of those folks who's like me, who can't be fucking browbeaten, right? Let me make sure to do that right now. Starman, give me just a second here. I appreciate it. And thank you, Starman. I see that and I see you. I appreciate you. Thank you for the cash app. If you one of those folk who aren't afraid to hear somebody tell you, your ancestors died for the right for you to vote, and you just wasted their blood. If you can withstand that shaming language, guilt tripping ass bullshit that's gonna come at you, stay your ass at home in 2020 if nobody is speaking your language. But if you must vote, vote down ballot. You got shit that affects you locally that you need to make sure that you speaking up on. And stop caring about the little letter at the end of the name. Start looking at the candidates themselves and what they talking about. Are they going to benefit you in some way, shape, or fashion? That I don't give a fuck if they got an R or a D at the end of their name. I'm not married to either of those damn parties. I'm married to results. I'm married to positions. I'm married to agendas. You feel me? I don't have no permanent motherfucking friends or allies or nothing. All I have is permanent lineage and permanent interests. So family, I want to say thank you so much for checking your boy out today. Morning Joe will be on deck as per usual tomorrow morning, so be on the lookout for that. Of course, Sucker Free Saturday is going to show up this Saturday, right? And we're going to get it in. So until the next time I speak with you, family, I want to wish you all what I always wish you, and that is love, peace, prosperity, and power, real power to our people.